I've recently been studying and learning what I can about the Grand Wizard Ernie Roth. I was wondering if Jim had any experiences with him and what kind of person he was. Sadly, I was too young to see him in his prime, so I'd be grateful to hear anything you or Jim can offer. Keep up the great work.
I never met him. Actually, he was young Heyman's mentor. Because since Paulie was from the north and I was from the south, I never met the Grand Wizard. Obviously, he had a long career. He started out as an announcer in the Midwest in like the late 50s, a TV announcer. And then he was Mr. Clean, I believe, with the shaved head as a manager. He was also, I think, Armstrong K early at one point in his career. But then he settled into the dual identities. When he managed the Sheik, he was Abdullah Farouk with the Fez and etc. And when he went to the WWF and managed there, he was the Grand Wizard of Wrestling with the turban and always with the sunglasses and everything, and had the rough voice and the way of talking. And it was to be honest, I seeing him on video, which is the only way I had to really judge his work, I thought he was a little, to be honest, I know he was one of the legendary Trilogy of Terror there, the Wizard, Albano, and Blassie. I thought he was kind of like Lou Albano was in some cases. Albano had a ton of heat in the late 60s and 70s, but then kind of got a little caricaturish, a little old-fashioned, hokey wrestling like they had up there in New York. I liked him better with the Sheik because at least they had more heat. It was more evil. But he wasn't an old-fashioned Southern manager in the vein of which I grew up watching. So, but once again, also the managers didn't get to do much up there. They just they walked out and they did the TV promos. They never did angles on TV, so you didn't see them interfere. They never went to ringside except at the Garden. They'd walk to the ring with the guys and then go back. They didn't want to have riots, so the guys, the managers up there, they didn't interfere. They weren't very physically active. You didn't get to see a lot from them to judge what they could do in other places. So the stuff with the Sheik was probably a little more fun for me.
In terms of what kind of person he was, I never got to meet him, but I could say through conversations I've had with various people like John Arezzi and Tom Burke, who knew him, guys who were a part of the fan club scene, a part of the early smart fan scene, they all say the same thing. He was a really great guy, a welcoming guy, tried to help out other fans. And it goes back to what I always say on the Super Podcast. My favorite people to talk to about wrestling are people who started out as fans. Jimmy Cornette, you, yeah. Bobby Fulton, Tom Pritchard. When I talk to guys like you who started out as fans, there's kind of an understanding of fan culture. And the Grand Wizard apparently had that. He was a huge wrestling fan who was able to get into the business as a commentator and later as a manager. And he, of course, ran Boston with, who was his boyfriend? Beautiful Bruce, right?
Was it Beautiful Bruce or was it
Maurice?
Magnificent Maurice.
Yeah.
Yes.
They ran Boston for Vince McMahon Sr. for many years. So, from all accounts, he was a really good guy to fellow smart fans or people, I guess he picked up, they knew something. He wasn't.
Well, even if Heyman was only like a teenager, to be nice to Heyman, he would have had to have been a great guy. But no, yeah, I have heard that was a great guy. And J.J. Dillon is another example, a guy who was a big wrestling fan and got into business and always liked to help other people and had an understanding of why people are fans.
Jim, let's go to a kayfabe world right now where you are a top talent professional wrestler.
Oh boy, where in the world would that be?
And you're going to the Northeast and you need a manager. You want to get a title match, you need a manager. Who would you pick thinking they could do the most for your career? Blassie, Albano, or the Grand Wizard?
Wow. Fred, here's the thing. Blassie was the biggest star as a wrestler, but probably between the Wizard, Albano, and Blassie would have been the third as far as managers. When you think about track record in the WWF with champions, Albano always had the tag teams, right? So I may have picked Wizard just because he seemed to get the top singles guys.
Well, Wizard had the longest run with a champion with Billy Graham, but Albano did have Ivan Koloff.
And then also, like, Billy Graham needed a manager, right?
Yeah, exactly. One of the greatest talkers of all time.
Yeah, the greatest promo of all time. He needs a manager. So that's, probably maybe wizard.
All right.
And then plus you wouldn't have to worry whether Albano was going to get drunk. And I liked Lou too. I'm not knocking Albano. He was a piece of work, as they would say. He told me the same joke 700 times. Every time I'd see him, of course, I'd be in gimmick. I'd be wearing my tie and everything. He'd say, "Hey, I hope that shirt's waterproof because that tie is a real pisser." And it was funnier when Lou said it, but not after 17 times or so. It just...
Come on. How badly do you wish you were backstage just a few times to see a drunken Lou Albano just really going, like yelling at Vince McMahon, "Come on, Vinny Jr. Come on, Vinny Jr." Just really degrading.
Well, see, that's the thing. I missed all of the drunk Albano days and just got him when he was lighter. He'd lost weight. He had calmed down. He was a happily married man. He was not misbehaving anymore. I saw that, Captain Lou. He was still wild. But he was a more gentle wild than back in those days. Like the time that he fucking went out with the X-Acto knife in the garden and just fucking cut every part of his face to get juice right in front of the fans or whatever the fuck, because he was drunk off his ass and just didn't give a shit. "You want me to get juice? I'll get some juice." She sliced their cheeks, fucking jowls, chin, forehead, everything with a fucking X-Acto knife right in the middle of the goddamn ring in the Madison Square Garden.
Boy, that athletic commission was so effective.
Yeah, they kept bad things from happening.
For those of you fans wanting to learn more about Ernie Roth, the Grand Wizard, I would just make a suggestion I learned. When you do a Google search, put Grand Wizard of Wrestling.
Yeah. You get David Duke, right?
It's exactly right. You get a picture of a bunch of Klansmen. So make sure you notate Grand Wizard of Wrestling when you do a search.